Joshua Buatsi wins the vacant British light heavyweight title with a third round stoppage of Liam Conroy. Now, Buatsi is a very, very interesting fighter because he's one of those guys who is unemotional. You know, he's not like a Deontay Wilder. You know, he's not like, you name an emotional fighter out there. Conor Ben. He's not like one of those guys. He's a cool guy outside the ring, because you can see with those guys, they're emotional outside the ring. Buatsi is a very cool guy, very methodical, very calculating kind of guy outside the ring. When he gets in the ring, he's also methodical, but he has a viciousness to him in his performances. He's vicious. And from the opening bell against Liam Conroy, Buatsi was trying to load up and take this guy's head off. And that resulted in Buatsi missing quite a bit more than we're used to seeing him miss in this fight. He was vicious. We saw it before in, several of his previous performances, but we certainly saw it against Reno Quinlan, the viciousness from Joshua Buatsi. And I like to see viciousness. Don't get it twisted here. It's not me critiquing the guy. I like to see viciousness in a fighter. And from the opening bell against Conroy, he was going for the KO. In a major way. He was trying to take this guy's head off with big hooks and right hands. He wasn't totally reckless, but when he got Conroy in a position where he had him pinned on the ropes, etc., he was loading up with hooks and he was trying to take the guy's head off. And as a result of that, he missed more than we're used to seeing him miss. And he also got clipped a few times. Nothing that Conroy landed remotely bothered Joshua Buatsi. Wasn't stunned, wasn't wobbled, wasn't knocked off balance from what I remember. Didn't even have his head rocked back from any of the shots that Liam Conroy landed. I don't think Liam Conroy is a big puncher, to be fair, but he was caught clean a couple times. But Buatsi, the longer the fight went, and it was only a 3-round fight, started landing more and more clean punches. He was hitting Liam Conroy to the body. Conroy, to his credit, obviously came to fight. He obviously came to win. I suspect that Conroy's plan was to try and get Buatsi into the late rounds, because Buatsi's never been late in fights and Conroy has. So I'm assuming that's what Conroy's plan was, because he was boxing almost purely as a counterpuncher in this fight, Liam Conroy. He was moving around. His body language appeared confident. Conroy didn't seem overawed. He didn't seem shocked by anything he was being hit by for the first 2 and a bit rounds, so he was confident. He was there to win, and he felt like he could upset the odds. But in the third round, a breakthrough moment came. Joshua Buatsi caught Liam Conroy, and Conroy started rolling and dipping underneath the follow-ups. And in doing so, he kind of left himself off balance, and Joshua Buatsi caught him with a shot which either landed on the chin or it might have landed on Conroy's chest. It was hard to see from even the slow-mo replay. But either way, it was a legitimate knockdown. Conroy went down. He was on his knees. Didn't appear to be badly hurt. He got up. Joshua Buatsi went in. And this time he did land a very, very good right hand, which rocked Liam Conroy's head right back. The follow-up left kind of came behind Conroy's neck. And it was almost like a clothesline around the back of Conroy's neck. Again, it wasn't any kind of intentionally illegal blow from Joshua Buatsi. It's just that when he hit Conroy with a big right hand, his head rocked back, and then Conroy started slumping forward. And so the follow-up, which would have hit Conroy's head, ended up, being kind of a forearm on the back of the neck. Conroy landed on his face, and I think at that point the referee was already thinking about maybe stopping the fight, because generally when guys go down on their face, it's an indication that they have been seriously hurt. But in this instance, I don't think Conroy was that seriously hurt. Because again, I'm not sure he would have gone down. I'd have to watch the instant replay again. But I'm not sure if he would have gone down if it wasn't for the clothesline follow-up to the back of the neck. The right hand was a very good shot. It definitely buzzed him. But the follow-up, I think the momentum carried Liam Conroy over onto his face. But, it's by the by at the end of the day. Conroy got up, but the referee waved it off. I personally think Conroy could have continued. He was buzzed, but he wasn't out of it by any means. I think the commentator for Sky also was kind of questioning the stoppage. And even Eddie Hearn after the fight said, for him, that was a bit of a premature stoppage. And I definitely agree. I think it was premature. And of course, Conroy hadn't won a round. He didn't look like he was going to win the fight. He was getting hit more and more as the fight progressed. But we've seen fighters come back from terrible starts in fights to upset the odds when all hope seemed lost. And for a fighter like Liam Conroy, who, you know, he's lost a few fights here. You see he's lost 3. In fact, let's look at his record. He's from Barrow and Furness. He actually hasn't lost for a while. You know, back in 2015 was his previous loss. So he's been on a run of form. I can't say I'm massively familiar with Liam Conroy, which is why I'm going to his box rec. But, you know, I just knew what the Sky commentators were saying. And it was clear he was a young fighter who was still ambitious and believed in himself. So for him to be stopped the way that he was, to not be given the benefit of the doubt, I know that's going to be very disappointing to him. And as I say, I think they should have let it gone on for maybe another knockdown and then stopped it. You know, let's just see if the young man can get through. Because again, you look into his eyes were clear. He was okay. He wasn't wobbling around on his feet. You know, they could have done that thing that a lot of the referees, certainly in America, like to do these days and get the fighter to walk left and walk right and see how he's walking. He could have done that rather than just waving it off right away. And I know some people are going to start talking about it's a matchroom stoppage. Maybe it was a matchroom stoppage. And I think we saw some matchroom scoring, didn't we, in the Lewis Ritson fight? But, you know, it's not something which is unique to matchroom. All the house fighters, you know, under whichever promoter you care to name, tend to get favorable treatment. At least in some of their fights. So, yeah, I thought it was a good performance by Joshua Buatsi. He was reckless here, but I think the commentary team, or the punditry team, said that the reason they think Buatsi was more reckless in this fight than he normally is because he really didn't respect Liam Conroy as any kind of danger to him. I'm sure he respects him as a man. You know, after the fight, he went over to his corner and all that kind of business and, you know, wished him well. But in the ring, he didn't respect Liam Conroy's power. And he just felt like he could bulldoze the guy. And that's exactly what he did. He just went in there, you know, threw the more accurate punches, hit the guy to the body, overpowered him and outclassed him. So, yeah, good performance by Buatsi. You know, he's going to need to tighten up the defense against better level up opposition. And you don't want to get in bad habits. That's the thing. So, yes, you can bulldoze a guy like Liam Conroy, but you don't want to get in the bad habits of not blocking shots, you know, when certain shots are coming at you and all that kind of thing. Getting complacent. I mean, this is one of the dangers of fighters being moved too slow. And I'm not suggesting Buatsi's being moved too slow. I think Buatsi's being moved very, very well. But other fighters who get moved too slow, one of the dangers is you fall into bad habits. Yeah? So, you know, that's something you have to take into consideration when you're bringing a young fighter up is, yeah, you want to build him up gradually, but at the same time, you don't want to build him up so gradually that he gets complacent in terms of what he's doing in the ring. Steel sharpens steel at the end of the day. If you want a fighter to really progress and come on, you have to put him in with appropriately skilled opponents. So anyway, let me know what you guys felt about Joshua Buatsi's performance against Liam Conroy. Apparently his team say they want Buatsi to win the British title outright. So maybe he'll defend it a few times. And yeah, we'll see who Buatsi can be matched with. Will he fight Jose Burton? That seems like an inevitable fight at this point if he wants to win the British title outright. Jose Burton's there. Callum Johnson appears to have gone on to world level, so he doesn't seem to be particularly interested in fighting for British titles anymore. He's relinquished. Anthony Yard would obviously like to see that fight, but Frank Warren and Tunde Ajayi clearly have other ideas when it comes to who they're going to match Anthony Yard with. I wish they would entertain the possibility of Yard Buatsi. At the end of the day, I rate Yard's ability. So I'm not somebody who's just sitting here hating on Anthony Yard and trashing him and saying he's no good, because there's a lot of people who are doing that. I'm not doing that. Am I frustrated by some of the things that Frank Warren and Tunde Ajayi have said and the way that they are misleading the fans with regards to the quality of Yard's opponents? Yes, that's frustrating. And it's also uninteresting to see Anthony Yard go through this process, this very slow process of defeating journeyman after journeyman after journeyman after journeyman. You know, it was okay for his first 10, 11, 12 fights, but at this point it's old now. And although I understand the process, it's not a particularly interesting process. So wake me up when we get there. Wake me up when he's in there with someone with a pulse. Maybe you could put Liam Conroy in there against Anthony Yard. I don't think he would fare much better against Yard than he did against Buatsi, to be honest with you. But if you want to try and build up a rivalry, then that might be one way of doing it, is have a bunch of mutual opponents. Because Joshua Buatsi obviously destroyed Avalanche far more easily than Anthony Yard was able to. So maybe Anthony Yard and his people fancy doing what Buatsi did and trying to take on a mutual opponent and see if you can do a better job on him. I doubt they would probably go in that direction. You never know. But I have my doubts because Tunde Ajayi likes to pick these obscure fighters from around the world who we've never heard of and put them in there against Anthony Yard. And one of the reasons I think that he does this is because we don't have anything to compare his performances to, right? He's picking opponents who other British light heavyweights haven't fought. Obscure opponents from Argentina and all these different places who other British light heavyweights haven't fought. So he can say, oh, well, you see, the other light heavyweights wouldn't have done any better. This guy only had 2 losses on his record. You know, all his fights have been in Peru or Argentina or whatever, but don't worry about that. He only had 1 or 2 losses on his record. None of the other British light heavyweights have fought him. They wouldn't have done any better. They would have found it more difficult. Actually, this is what Tunde is able to do by picking these kind of opponents for Anthony Yard. You know, whereas if he was picking domestic fighters who Yard's domestic rivals have actually fought, that's a little bit more of a difficult situation. Because then if Yard goes in there and struggles with guys who Buatsi or Burton deal with ease, the crowd are going to say, oh, maybe Anthony Yard's not what Tunde's making him out to be, etc. So anyway, for Joshua Buatsi, he can't worry about Anthony Yard. He just has to focus on his own journey. And it's going to be interesting to see him progress and win the British title outright, if he can do that, and then move on to world honors, European and world honors eventually. So yeah, let me know what you guys felt about Joshua Buatsi's performance. Were you impressed? Were you a little maybe alarmed by the recklessness, or did you actually like that? Did it add some extra excitement? Drop it all in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.